Let's get this meeting underway. Beth, you said you were having a little sore throat or something, so you wanted me to do a lot of the talking. Is that right?
Thank you.
So we always start off with introductions. Everybody, welcome to the November 10th card meeting. As far as introductions, I'm Roger Rail. I'm chair of CARD and chair of Sci Residents for Safe Water. And I'm into my 28th year as a citizen volunteer watching over the Paul Gelman 1,4-dioxane site. I think I need to go to I have to quit sharing the screen here so I can go to the grid view, and then I will call people in the order I see them on my screen. So Beth, you'll be next. So unmute.
Hi, I'm Beth Collins. I'm the secretary of CARD and Ann Arbor resident. Getting over a cold, but it's not COVID. It's just
And then Harvey, followed by Shauna.
My wife and I moved to Scioview 11 years ago, and we're very interested in what goes on in our community. Thank you, Roger, and all the others for all the work.
Okay. Shauna, then Vince.
Hi, I'm Shauna Milkey. Oh, yeah, sorry. Shauna Milkey, concerned Ann Arbor citizen.
Hi, Vince Crusoe, board member of CARD, also a coordinating member for the Elms Creek Watershed Group. Thanks, Roger, for.
And then let's go to Ron Schwartz and followed by Jack Eaton. Unmute yourself, Ron. There you go.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just an interested citizen. I live in Ann Arbor, grew up here.
Where do you live, Ron?
On 8th Street.
Okay, good.
My great grandpa used to own that land on Wagner Road.
Oh, the Gelman land?
Yeah, he sold it. Well, he died in 1896. Never sold then.
1896. So did he actually own the Saginaw Forest too then?
I don't think it went that far west. He had a farm on Wagner Road, a little bit on the farm was on the west side, but he had owned a little land on the east side also.
We're going to have to talk later. Okay, Jack, and then Mike Moran.
Hi, I'm Jack Eaton. I'm an Ann Arbor resident.
Mike Moran, Ann Arbor Township trustee, vice chair of CARD.
Ralph McKee, and then Dan Bicknell.
Ralph McKee, I'm a Ann Arbor citizen. I live on the west side.
Dan Bicknell, Global Environment Alliance, live in Dexter.
Okay, Cynthia, and then Katie.
Cynthia Price, I'm a concerned citizen as well, and Ann Arbor resident.
And I'm Katie Jositis from Congresswoman Dingell's office.
Kathy Noel, and then Bob.
Kathy Noel, Scioview Township trustee.
Bob Bailey, Scioview resident, on the backing up to the Gelman water discharge.
Then Rita and Patty. You have to unmute yourself, Rita. There you go.
I know I had to find it because I don't see my picture anymore. Anyway, I'm Rita LaCaruso, and I'm a resident of Ann Arbor and founding member of CARD, and been following the dioxane plume problem for many years, sometimes as a city environmental commissioner, but mostly just as a citizen.
Betty McCall with Tetra Tech.
Jillian and Jeff Jackson.
Jillian Carey, concerned and frustrated Scioview Township resident.
Jeff Jackson, Scioview Township resident. Very interested in the whole Gelman plume issue.
Jeff, where do you live in Scioto?
I live on Dexter Road between Wagner and Zeeb. So right now we're not part of the plume, thank goodness, but you never know. And of course it concerns me.
Thanks.
Jeff, do I have your email? Have you been getting the invites and stuff?
I have not.
Okay, if you would put that in the chat to me, I could get you on the mailing list.
Yeah, do a private. If you don't want it public, just put it in the
thank
private
you.
to Beth, your email to her, and you'll get on the list that way.
Yep.
And then Colleen and Jeff Hayner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Lynn. I'm a researcher from Wayne State University.
Jeff Hayner, Ann Arbor resident and on Ann Arbor City Council for Ward 1.
And then Jason and Bob Hyde.
Hi there, Jason Morgan, Chair of the Washtenaw County Board of Commissioners and an Ann Arbor resident. And I can't stick around too long today, but just wanted to make sure I was hopping on to let you know that we are voting on this at the County Commission on Thursday night at 7:30. And I've heard from a lot of you already and recognize your names for the couple of people I haven't met or spoken with at this point. Thanks, Roger.
Hi, I'm Bob Hyde and a concerned Scioto citizen also.
You remind us where you live, Bob?
I live on Marshall Road, Roger.
That's right. Kristen and then Diane.
Hi there, this is Kristen Schwakelfer. I'm the Environmental Health Director with the Washtenaw County Health Department.
Hi, Diane O'Connell, Ann Arbor Township.
She's the supervisor now. I got to go page 2 here and see if there's somebody that, oh, this is going to be, let's see, did I lose anybody? I'm going to page 2 is that some of the same people show up and I got to look through and see. I've got
did Dan Hamill introduce himself?
I'm going to do him last.
Okay.
Okay. I think I got everybody except iPhone. Who's iPhone? I'm going to ask you to unmute.
I believe it might be me, Carrie Leckie.
Yep.
Yes, that's.
Yeah,
okay.
so I'm Scioto Township resident, vice president of Walnut Ridge, and a new member to this. I've been following a little bit and reading extensively your work, Roger, and I thank you. And I just want to be more informed of everything that's going on.
Thank you for being involved. Beth, Beth, can you rename her?
Yes. And then we still have Jackie Courteau and then the unnamed phone number 4464 is my friend Linda too. So
okay, so Jackie and then Linda.
I'm Jackie Courteau, trustee-elect for Scioto Township, trying to get up to speed on this issue. I paid attention to it when I was an Ann Arbor resident in the 90s, and then I'm rejoining and really appreciating the extensive work you've put together, Roger. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Linda Brower. I live in Ann Arbor on the Old West Side, and I've been paying attention on and off over the years, but the last few months I've been paying very detailed attention and have been more active in, but this is my first actual card meeting.
Thanks for joining. I just saw a Carrie Letke. We haven't had that yet, right? Carrie, do you want to unmute?
No, actually, I just spoke a little bit ago.
Oh,
I said I was.
And I just
yeah.
I just had a senior moment then.
No, I was listed as iPhone at first, and then I think I signed in. So my name might have come up twice.
Yeah, these things pop up.
I know. I've been on Zoom all day. It's a long day.
Yeah, I thought I could get 49 people on the screen at a time, but I'm only seeing 30 on one screen. Anyway, I think we're back to Dan. I think we're ready to go to the next item on the agenda. Let me go back to that.
And that's the approval of last month's minutes. So if somebody could make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second the
And
motion.
Vince seconds.
This
And
is for
all
all
in
board
favor of
members.
approving the minutes
Aye.
for the
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
Okay, now we can go back and have Dan Hamill introduce himself and go right into his review of old business and then the EGLE updates. There's a couple things in there we'll call on other people in the meantime, but go ahead, Dan, with the old business items.
I'm Dan Hamill. I'm the EGLE project manager for the Gelman site. Office is in Jacksonville now.
Your audio's a little muted there, Dan. I don't know if you're close to the mic.
Okay, I'll keep
It might be that there's too many other people still unmuted. There might be some interference. Let me go back, take a look. Pretty much everybody's muted. Jackie, mute. There we go. Go ahead, Dan.
Okay, going on to the agenda, the old business. The first item is, was the Assistant AG able to get the documents and data from the negotiating or any tests on the site work, including the Marshy area? And no, those documents and data are still covered under the confidentiality agreement of the negotiations. We have made a request to Gelman to start that, to let's agree to release that information. They have not agreed to that as of yet, but I do want to point out that the EGLE and the interveners, the legal and technical teams during negotiations have seen the data. So it's not like it has not been out there during the negotiation. So, but we aren't able to release it yet. We're trying to get that agreement with the parties. The next one I have is the Q&A document, basically question and answer document from our September 14th meeting, a virtual meeting, reviewing the fourth amended consent judgment, the draft. We are generating two documents. Both of those documents have been sent for posting. One of the documents is the actual compilation of all the comments and questions, the emails, the letters, everything that we received during the comment period, with personal information redacted out of the documents, blacked out. And that document has given us some trouble to get it posted, because the state has to post documents that are ADA compliant. But we believe everything will be worked out, that these documents will be posted by this Friday, the 13th. They may even be posted tomorrow, but I want to manage expectations. I was told that they could get them posted by this Friday, the 13th. It'll be on the web page. It'll be right under the first item there, where it talks about the September 14th meeting, and be right below the movie or the Zoom document where you can watch our presentation on the 14th. These two documents, and they'll be identified as the public comments received document and the EGLE public comment responsiveness summary. So we're hoping very soon this week. The next one is the status of the trend analysis. As I've been saying, it's ongoing. It's not one of the top, it's not one of the things we're concentrating on right now. We're trying to get through and get everything about the CJ that put online. We're trying to work out some of the other items that we want to post. So I don't have a time frame. I'm manage expectations and not going to promise a time frame. I believe I've said in the past, in the last meeting or so, that I believe we can have a trend analysis document, a review of what Gelman has submitted as a initial trend analysis document, a review of that by the first quarter of next year. So I think that's doable, and but I don't want, like I said, I want to manage expectations, don't want to promise something before that. The next one is the status of the new compliance wells on the Scioview development property. As we've identified that 3 wells were abandoned with permission because of development that was going on the Scioview development property. Two of those wells are compliance monitoring wells under the current consent judgment, and those are 63S and MW63S and MW63I. A third well is not listed as a compliance well, but it was also abandoned. They were in the same proximate area, and we've been basically, as I've said, we were holding off replacing those compliance monitoring wells so they can be incorporated in the new compliance monitoring as new compliance monitoring wells related to the new 7.2 criteria. Rather than just replacing something in close proximity, we wanted to make sure utilize those as additional wells in the most efficient areas to monitor compliance with the 7.2 criteria. As you know, and it's been a long time coming. The CJ has not been approved of. In fact, it's not. There's been a lot of information received that it's going to be rejected by the interveners. But what we have identified, they're asking about. We've been asked under this month about when would these wells be replaced under the old CJ, and basically in internal discussions, when the court identifies that there's been an impasse, that we are at an impasse, or that the fourth amended CJ is going to be rejected, then we will work with Gelman to have those compliance monitoring wells replaced. So that's the current status that we're going to that I wanted to present tonight. Let's see, where are we here? The list of monitoring wells not tested in many years. I've compiled a draft document. I want to sit down with Gelman and go through my document because, again, I've been getting information from monitoring plans from my file information, and I want to make sure that I give that, that I get all the information of why wells aren't being sampled. I'm basically responding to a Jenny Kahn email about some questions about wells. Why haven't they been sampled since 2015? Those types of information. Because of the situation in the where we are in the negotiations, I haven't been able to sit down with Gelman in a Zoom meeting to go through that document. So I don't want to release that with just my my evaluation, EGLE's evaluation of the file information of why wells aren't being sampled. So I want to give Gelman an opportunity. So I'm anticipating that that'll be done in the near future. Again, to manage expectations, I do not have a date yet where I have set up with them. It's been trouble trying to get together with them for questions like that. So that's the current status right now. I will tell you that the document that Jenny gave me, her questions, is the first document I'm going to respond to. A lot of the wells on there, just to let you know, a lot of the wells were identified as no longer sample. We under the monitoring plans that were for the eastern area, western area, and Little Lake area. That were the last monitoring plans that were completed with the last third modified CJ in 2011. So a lot of these wells that she had questions on were identified as you no longer have to sample.
Dan,
So
can I just interrupt real quick? Roger, I've got someone named Bill that's been trying to get in, and they wouldn't identify themselves last month. So I'm hesitant to let them in unless you know them, or I'm not allowed to ask them questions in the waiting room. So can you see that, Roger? There's one person waiting named Bill.
Everybody has to be let in under public, it's an open meeting, is it not?
Well, what about bombers? I mean, this isn't set up to, I mean, we're just kind of we're not a city or a governmental Zoom account, and we didn't know about,
Could be Bill Diesenroth, who talked to me today about it.
I'll let him in.
Hey, Vin, do you have Bill's phone number? Why don't you call him?
No. Okay, I just let him in though, so maybe someone wants. Bill, who just joined, can you identify yourself?
You have to.
I'm trying to unmute him. He won't unmute. So this happened last month. It's public later. I don't know why someone would come and not identify themselves.
Yeah, well.
Offering HR solutions to connect the modern workforce at ukg.com. Our purpose.
Okay, well, there's someone in here that we don't know. So just.
Artificial intelligence at enterprise scale.
You want me to go on, Roger, now?
Learn more at c3.ai.
What do I have to do?
What else is we're getting somebody's TV in the background?
I think it's Bill's. He's unmuted.
There we go. Okay.
Let me.
We just go ahead, I guess, and see what happens. We can always cut them off if it gets weird.
Well, I think it's important to know who's coming in on this meeting so we can.
You can hang up on
them.
Bill, the meeting
He's got to
stopped
mute,
because of you. Can you tell us who you are, Bill?
or at least mute.
This is Bill Diesenroth. I'm on your list.
Oh,
Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you for identifying. Thank you. We just wanted to make sure.
And Beth, if you want to go ahead and rename him. Do you have his proper spelling of his name? I'm going to go back.
Diesenroth, as it sounds.
I'm going to go back to share the screen here.
Thank you.
All right, where did we leave off, Dan? F, was it?
At F, when will EGLE Water Commissioner do Allen Creek drain testing again? I don't have any information. We have not, no information on when we would do a similar testing like we did last year, a 6-month testing of selected Allen Creek drain manholes and situations. So we don't have anything planned in the near future for right now. I will tell you that I do during the surface water sampling in October that I sampled the selected locations, including the Allen Creek near Glendale and the Allen Creek drain in West Park there, and a Hannah Nature area, but that, whether that's surface water or Allen Creek drain, that there's a question on that. I think Vince had questioned.
But Dan, all of your samples are in the database, right? You go ahead and put all your samples in the database. So I don't know.
But planning right now another like investigation 6 months. That's what I take it. The question is asking a 6-month another investigation over several months of sampling of those same.
Dan, this is Dan Bicknell. I believe that when you all reported out your study back in August, September, you indicated that quarterly you were going to be sampling the Allen Creek drain in those locations.
No, we didn't. If it was interpreted as that, that is wrong. I would have said that we would do selected areas during our surface water sampling. We didn't. I would not have.
Well, I believe you did say that you were going to continue this work and you were going to sample, and it's been a year, hence the questions.
Well, I don't have I don't have any information of another event like that.
This constitutes a violation of the MS4 permit, and there's been no sampling that have been taken by DEQ, EGLE, or the Water Resources Commissioner in the last year. That's not the right way to deal with a violation of an MS4 permit, please. Thank you.
Okay. That's a different division. I believe they've answered that, the MS4 violation are being evaluated to see how to respond. And it is related to what we are doing related to the groundwater, and then also the potential sampling that will be related to if and when it foresees. I'm not going to answer.
Dan, you're breaking up. You're very hard to hear. I think it might get better either if you turned off your video or got
Or just
closer to
lean
something.
into your microphone.
Yeah.
Okay, I can turn off the video. That's fine.
No, I think you can leave your video. Just lean into your microphone. It's probably going to be good enough.
Okay.
Yeah,
So Dan, I had a question too. Have you gotten the data back? I sent you an email asking if you collected the data on the tests you did over a month ago. That was done.
Under the it's under a little lower, but I'll answer it now. I've gotten a portion of the data back.
Okay.
Sampled over 2 days on the 5th and the 7th of October. I've gotten data back from the Allen Creek Drain, Glendale, Smith Pond West, Smith Pond East, Arbor Landing Pond, West Park Pond, and Hannah Nature area, and then the unnamed tributary along at Jackson Road. All of them were non-detect except the unnamed tributary along Jackson Road. It was 3.8 ppb, and that's within the range of what it typically is when we sample that surface water body. I mean, it is getting discharged from Gelman at an allowed, at an allowed rate of a daily maximum of 22 or an average of 7 parts per billion out of the NPDES discharge.
So you had done tests in West Park and the drain and on 8th Street.
Those back yet.
Well, what's taking that so long? That was sent in on the 5th or the 7th.
Laboratory, the same,
issues
are behind.
Okay.
Again, I believe I got these, which were taken on the second day of sampling, because mainly of the non-detect. The other ones we were anticipating, as you have identified, that we probably have positive detection. So they're not going to release the data until they do a full QA/QC review of the package. And that, when you have positive detections like that, it takes longer. So as far as checking on that, I did check once, and then we've been instructed that the laboratory is behind.
Okay. Okay. Well, because I know those were outstanding and was interested in what that, because of the vapor intrusion issues on the west side and all the discussion about where we should go from here with these developments. Thanks.
I will, once I get both of them, I just didn't post these. I'll immediately post them to, like I do, the actual lab data sheet. So,
Dan, is there any indication of holding time violations on those?
No, no indication that I have right now. What happens, I mean, they get them done within the 2 weeks, but it's just getting them out and going through the QA/QC process. It's not that they haven't analyzed them yet. They know they have 2 weeks to analyze. They've done these, the second day samples. So I'm not anticipating that there's a holding time problem on the first batch. It's just they haven't had thorough review of the QA/QC before releasing the data pack.
What is the holding time rule, Roger?
2 weeks if it's
14
preserved.
days, yeah.
Yeah, 14
Even
days.
within the 14 days, we've seen some degradation in sample parts per billion. So
We collect the samples with and preserve them.
yeah,
Hydrochloric acid. You don't have to preserve them if you do them within a couple days.
yeah. We do know that if there was an instance where Gelman held a sample for longer than 14 days and analyzed it sometime later, and the results were significantly lower, which prompted me at the time to say, well, all they have to do to clean up this site was pump out all of the dioxane, all the water out that has dioxane in it, hold it in small vials for like 1,000 days, because it would degrade within the laboratory for those time period, and then they'll be done. Based on that one happenstance. Anyway, go ahead, Dan.
That was, and then any updates, B, any updates on the EGLE DHH adjusting the DA number? I don't have any information that that we're doing an evaluation to update that current proposed screening number of 1,900. They, in our discussions, they were then, our toxicologists had identified under certain assumptions, the calculations would generate a screening number of 29 with, certain assumptions, but those assumptions aren't all the time, aren't likely to be a consistent assumptions. And so, as they recommended, if we have some detections that are that there would be site, they would recommend site-specific evaluations for vapor intrusion exposure at specific residents.
I would like just to say, Dan, that the assumption that basements could be wet year-round is not outlandish for the west side of Ann Arbor. A lot of homes have wet basements year-round. A lot of basements have been undermined because of groundwater flows. So that's something that needs to be considered. Being in the Ounce Creek Watershed Group, we have talked to many people about wet basements, that are just year-round. Now, it's not flooded basements. It's not 3 feet of water, but there's water percolating up and evaporating. And some of it goes down the drain. Some of it just evaporates into the basement. So that's an issue that, we need to recognize in Ann Arbor, because we have a very high water table in parts of the city. So thanks.
The next one is related to that. And that's,
Hey, Dan, maybe lean in a little more.
no, I'm still.
Sure, Mike.
No. Next one is related to the wet basement testing, a related issue. And that's really not in my Patty's update.
Did you want to speak to that?
Yeah. Well, this beautiful weather has sort of precluded us getting any sampling. We haven't had enough rain for anybody to call, so we're still in a holding pattern waiting.
Okay. Any more discussion, Dan Bicknell? Do you have any more issues in this section?
No, but it was clear that there was going to be follow-up on Allen Creek to determine what sort of infiltration was going into that MS4 permitted drain, and unfortunately, nothing's happened over a year.
That's my recollection too. Okay. You want to go right into your EGLE updates, Dan?
The first one is about the NPDES permit renewal, the status of that. I checked with Water Resources and I have no new updates for the renewal of that permit. We're still working under the old permit, the 2014 permit. Again, the request by card to have a public meeting has been documented by the Water Resources Group. So when that moves forward, there will be a public meeting. They've committed to that. The permit can be commented on. But I don't have any new information on the time frame when the renewal permit, that process will move forward, then past the internal review that it is in right now. Beth had also asked me related there about, or had tried to get information about NPDES permits that were denied. Were any permits denied for either First Sister Lake or Second Sister Lake? I was able to check with Water Resources, my contact, Jessica Stiles, who's the permit writer. And she checked her database and, confirmed, or she didn't have any information. They don't have any information of a denied NPDES permit for either First Sister Lake or Second Sister Lake. She had asked me, Beth, if did you have a time frame when you thought that may occur? If you do, or maybe give that information to me, and I'll check back with her. But she, in their database, or what she did to review that, they didn't have any information of a historic denied NPDES permit for either of those two lakes. We've already discussed the surface water sampling. So again, as soon as I get that those data, that data package, I will get it out to I will get it out and post it on the webpage. But I also do send it out to the kind of a card smaller group like I've done in the past. I'll continue with that activity. So
I just want to ask a question. Do you have a time frame for how often you're going to do those surface tests? I forget if you had already described it.
Limited to at least once a year.
Once a year? I would request that it be done more often than that, because I think it's we're at 22 part per billion in West Park at 10 feet below the ground, and I think we need to make sure we stay out in front of that, because 29 could be the action level for basement exposure, wet basement. So I think it's a concern that we have on the west side here, that we don't let this get too far out ahead of us. If it's trending upward, which it has been from the day we started testing, that's a very concerning situation for us. And I think we need to test more frequently. I think that's a fair assumption and a safe assumption.
Okay, I'll take that back and we'll discuss it in-house there. The last item for my discussion is anything new. I just received today, I do want to point out that we had some elevated results in MW103S. If you remember, that's the one near the southern PZ boundary, just inbound from the current southern PZ boundary. That's the one that we had identified in a letter back to Gelman under the old CJ. It's not part of the CJ, but under the old monitoring, we had asked them to identify to them that it goes above 85 at that location, that maybe they have to resample above 85 for 2 consecutive months. That then contingency plan has to be started. And if you remember, we identified that during the negotiations, it went above that last year, and we did not require a contingency plan at that point because of the current negotiations. Well, it has gone in October, it went above 85 again. It went to 99. They sampled it twice in October. It was 99 and it ranged between 99 and 87. And so I've scheduled a resampling with them this Thursday at MW103S. They're going to do the November sampling this Thursday. I'm going to be there and take a split sample with them, and I will post that information once I get that analysis back. They will also have that under their November sampling event. So I just received the data today, so I will be over the next week or so, I'll be posting the actual lab data sheet like I normally do for monthly sampling results.
So for those of us who don't remember all the well numbers, where is this?
That's just to the,
Here, can I,
The street intersection, maybe?
It's Glendale and Abbott.
That's what I wondered.
does,
Hey, what time are you meeting them there, Dan, if you don't mind me asking?
in the afternoon. Well, I'm meeting them at their place at 1 p.m.
All right.
At their facility, you know, at their office at 1 p.m.
That's Glendale and Abbott, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's MW 103S. Yeah, and
it's right here. Is everybody seeing my Google Earth?
Yep.
I swear I was just talking about this well.
Yes.
The council. Is that the one?
Did
Yeah.
it's city council. And,
103S, right?
and I'm even more mad about the Nagel letter that
Is Brian with us? I'm going to cut him some slack on that, but it makes it easy to know what we're talking about.
well, this CJ will not be accepted. So they need, Gelman, the polluter, needs to take whatever the next step is with this well.
It's in violation, yeah.
What, Dan, what do you expect the next step might be?
let me make something clear here so everybody's on the same page. Yes, we did send them EGLE sent them a letter, but they are not in violation of the consent judgment. That letter is not a enforceable document. It's just what we wanted from them. They did not accept the letter saying, yes, we will do this. They have accepted parts of it. They have given us notifications when it goes above within the time frame we've asked, but that is not part of the CJ, the actual court document. So they are really not out of compliance. They just, that letter was what we wanted them to do. So I just want people to understand that it's not something that we can easily enforce like with the CJ, non-compliance with actual items in the CJ. So just so everybody is
well,
clear.
can you explain it to us then? If this isn't in the third CJ,
it's not in CJ. It is related to the monitoring plans that are part of the third CJ. We had asked them to do this and said, if you have this, at 85, above 85 at MW 103, then we need to start looking at what we need to do so we don't go, so 85 doesn't go across the prohibition.
but there's no wells outside the prohibition zone to check to see. So
that's that's what I'm saying is we don't have, at least I've been told, this isn't mine. Interpretation is, although that is a letter and we sent that to them, that's not an enforcement part of the CJ. So they're not out of compliance with the CJ. Now, if
but you're aware they could be out of compliance. There's no well to show it.
That's a possibility.
So
right.
When will they be out of compliance? How can you test outside the prohibition zone?
Basically, we would have to go. It's not an automatic compliance issue as from the language of the CJ. It's a regulatory letter that we want you to do this. Well, they basically
but maybe the interveners should know this now. And what a bad partner the polluter is, that they're not willing to even do what you're recommending for them at a monitoring well that has exceeded the limits recommended on the edge of the prohibition zone.
I would also point out that this well is the only one at that screen elevation range anywhere east of Maple Road. This is the one and only monitoring well that's that shallow in that elevation range.
What's the elevation?
840.
Well, it's 840 to 860, so it's 840.26 according to their measurements.
But those nearby ones are 2040 off that, right? The next closest ones to the east, southeast there.
You want to see
Like along Crest.
you want to see the more shallow ones around that? Let's go 20 feet
I was just
shallower.
curious, like if there is another cluster, what
Well,
what
yeah,
Beth said
but it's
about
not at
the
the screened
outside the
elevation.
prohibition
Here's what
zone.
you're talking about. You're talking about MW 112S, which is 10 feet shallower. No, more than 10 feet. So I said that was 840. This is like
829.
Yeah, so it's about 12, 11 feet shallower. So whatever's, this could be slipping over top of this well.
But Roger, while you're there, the point is that that well that you're looking at is right on the plume area, and it shows to be impacted. So you're seeing that right on the prohibition zone, there is dioxane going past it, which the overall intent was to ensure that there was a feasibility study done and take actions to make sure that the dioxane does not go past the prohibition zone, which is what's occurring now. And what the state tried to do is they said, we're going to base that on monitoring well 103. And now we're hearing, as in the past a year ago, it was above 85, and a year ago it was above 85 twice. But the state sent them a letter saying, due to the fact that we're in negotiations, we're not going to ask you to follow up. So now Dan's telling us that it's over 85 again. He's going to resample, see if it's twice, and then see what they do. But my observation is that it's not supposed to go past the prohibition zone, the dioxane, and it's already been illustrated there that in that 112, it is past the prohibition zone. And feasibility study and corrective actions need to be done by Gelman.
Well, under the old CJ, just realize that the cutoff number is 85. So
Yeah, but that's like fantasy. You know, that's
I don't like it just as much as you guys don't like it. But
right, right. And the same thing's going to happen once it's 7.2. There's nothing different about the new prohibition zone other than the numbers a little tighter. But even with that, the settlement says we're going to have to expand the prohibition zone immediately, so we don't even get close to the 7.2, which is like admitting like 7.2 is already past this point at that elevation, and nothing's been done. And so they could continue to expand the prohibition zone each time it gets close, and that's not acceptable.
I mean, that's what it is, and we're going to double check, see if it goes 2 months, and I can't say what you know. I will present the data, and you can identify your questions. You know, I made it clear, identified in-house that we're under that same scenario that from our related to.
The prohibition zone has always had this fundamental problem that it really can't be enforced if the company doesn't agree to it. That's the fundamental problem.
Oh, it either is a zone or it's not a zone, you know. So Sheldon set those prohibition zones up for a reason, and they, you know, need to be honored.
Or just clean up the dioxane.
Well, in the meantime, yeah, and clean it up.
I mean, that prohibition zone is so artificial. It's already had to be expanded once, and now they're proposing to expand it again without any additional data to support it. Anyway, I'm going to go back and I want to question, because I'm only seeing it from the presenter side here. I don't have my laptop going, so I'm not exactly seeing what you guys are seeing. If I click over here, do you see is this changing for you? Do you see the agenda, or do I have to stop sharing and reshare? Are you still seeing the prohibition?
I see the agenda.
You see the agenda?
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
Oh, you're not seeing the agenda. Okay. So I need to go back and stop the
No
share.
agenda.
And I got to
Yep, I think so.
reshare with the agenda.
Right.
And there's probably a way to do this, but I'm just, even after all these months, I'm still getting used to Zoom. All right.
Yeah,
so,
I don't know that there is a way just to do it, Roger. You know, because I teach on Zoom and I
yeah,
tried.
well,
and
there's something
couldn't
up here called more. And I thought it
find
might be
it.
there. I thought it might have, you know, where you could switch to the window without having to stop and reshare. Anyway,
Not to my knowledge.
next rev maybe. I know Zoom is asking me to update to a new rev, and I didn't want to do it before this meeting because it might have screwed it up. Anyway, any more discussion on
Roger, I should
this?
point out that when I came in with my city browser, they also pointed out that the site was serving up things that was going to expire out, flash updates and stuff. So just heads up. It said that you have some flash stuff embedded out here somewhere that's going to cause trouble when Adobe stops supporting that in the very near future.
You think that Zoom has some flash apps, some flash?
I'll send you a thing offline.
Yeah, please.
I'll send you a thing offline. I think it's
in
your
the
Google
chat.
Docs.
Or just put it in the chat.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Because the chats for these get saved and I can always go back to it. Dan Hamill, the reason that that I wanted you to send in a written summary of what you reviewed here today, in part was so we can have better documentation of it. We do have transcripts whenever this gets posted to YouTube, but as we saw here with your audio, we're probably going to have some problems with the transcript. So that's the reason from now on.
Well, Roger, I've taken that up, you know, to have stuff sent out as EGLE.
Yeah.
I gotta get it. Go up
Right.
through a lot more than me doing notes and talking. So I pass that on. I'll see, you know, if I get permission from EGLE management to go ahead and do that for the monthly.
We'll try to get the,
I believe the next one.
even if it's, you know, we'll send the agenda to you like a week before, and then you can respond to it. And even if the agenda changes a little bit, we can still change your replies as needed. It's not that you have to be, you know, right up to snuff, like, you know, 5 minutes before the meeting. If the agenda changes, you don't have to change the written thing, but maybe afterward or something. But at least have a good, more than just bullet point outline of what your replies are going to be to the agenda items. I think that would really help.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I passed that on to management, my management, and we'll discuss it in house, and I'll see if I get permission to go ahead and generate a document as an update. So
I'd just like to try to get back to more of the level of documentation we had before you came on board. And the policy probably changed before you came on board, but I want to get back to the like pre-2010, 2009 policies where when there was a document that was relevant, deemed relevant to the public information stream, that was shared. We used to get a monthly summary of here's the documents that came in this month with the dates and the description and who was involved. Like, for instance, you said that Jenny provided a list of wells that haven't been sampled in a while. That would be the kind of thing that would be on this monthly summary. And then on the Excel spreadsheet that anybody could go back to and click on it and get that document sometime in the future. I know that EGLE's been going back and filling in some of those, but if we can have that more up to date and like in a real time fashion, like a document came in, it was reviewed, it was posted, it was the link to it was sent out, and it's on that spreadsheet, then we can trace more of these ongoing issues. And I think we need to get back to that, because otherwise, in a complex site like this that's going to go on for so long, things get lost. and
Oh,
you know, they
absolutely.
get filed away and nobody ever sees them again. I think it's important to have, especially when new people come on, all the new elected officials, if they want to catch up on a thing and they want to trace down a particular decision path, they'll have something to go on instead of having to rely on word of mouth. Anyway, that's where, that's the reason we ask for those things in written form.
Like I said, I passed that request on, and I will keep you posted of what the outcome from our internal discussions.
And I think it would help you too for reference, you know. That,
well, I do notes, bulleted notes, for my discussions.
Yeah.
But like I said, I passed that on. So.
All right. Any more discussion before we go on?
One thing I do want to say, I am going to have to leave at 6 o'clock. I have another meeting. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know before 6. I don't even know what time it is. It's 5 right now.
It's 5 now. We've been on in an hour for these 2 20-minute things. Okay.
I have a question. I have a question for Dan on this. So how could we get this near surface or shallow groundwater testing done more frequently? What would be the process to get that to happen?
Well, I think one of the ways to document it is to request it, hard requested with a letter, officially to me, and then on the file, not just a verbal. I mean, we discussed that. Again, it's a matter of hours. I mean, the time it takes, the lab, the lab time, my time, the sampling time, whatever. So I think a better way to do it, rather than doing it verbally here and me passing that on, is to document it, and that'll,
So the state of Michigan's paying for those tests currently?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are. So those are tests that we're paying for. Gelman's not paying for them. Yeah, that's another issue, but that's unfortunate that that's allowed to happen and hasn't been mitigated, for all this time.
Well,
it is a major issue, and I think EGLE realizes that, and they should go to Gelman and say, this is a major problem for this plume in the short term, and it shouldn't be allowed to just go wandering around the west side of Ann Arbor without any handle on where it's going. We just have very minimal data here. Dan Bicknell laid out a very careful and thoughtful shallow groundwater well system that would have been very important to have, and EGLE decided not to do that, but Gelman could have done that for us. And I think that once again, we say that is a necessary element in the short term. Long term, we need to clean it up, but short term, we need to know where this plume is going at less than 10 feet below the surface. And we have wet basements all over that area. So it's not something that's out in the ether. It's actually affecting homeowners as we speak. I mean, this is what Larry Lemke says, probably already in basements, probably already in the creek. Well, we know it is now. We know it's in the creek. But he said it's probably already in the basement. So we need to not just keep putting this off and keeping people in the dark as to where the dangers are with this contamination. I think we would find a lot more people concerned about this if they knew their basements were very close to contaminated groundwater that could be volatilizing in their basements and be dangerous. Thanks.
Okay, anybody else? I'm going to start out my update with 2 things. One is what we voted on since the last meeting. We had a special session outside of the normal times to vote to reject this, for CARD to reject this proposed Fourth Consent Judgment settlement. And let me go ahead and share that. Sure I can get to it. Resolution, here it is. I better make it a little bigger. 150 maybe. There we go. And go back to share. Share screen. So this we did at the 10th of October. And this again is linked to on the various websites. So we rejected it, does not support the amendment, and urges the local government officials to reject the fourth consent judgment and jointly pursue US EPA Superfund status. So we already started talking about that in this resolution. This passed unanimously with the people eligible to vote for CARD. There were a few of the local government people who, because they were parties to the case, had to abstain, but there was nobody that voted in favor of this. So any discussion on this before I go on to my next item?
Just to say that we've had no public comment that I'm aware that supported that CJ4. Now, I may be wrong, maybe somebody can correct me, but of all the ones that I've listened to, not a one was in support.
Yeah, that's my understanding too. Because the public actually has enough information on this to know that there are serious problems with this proposal. And tweaking, make it a couple changes here, begging for a couple changes there, is not going to change the underlying problems with the proposal and with the consent judgment itself, which is, as we saw already today, can't even be enforced to do what we thought it was going to do. And there's nothing in it that's going to change going forward. I want to go into the next thing here. So I'm going to stop this share and I'm going to bring back Google Earth. And I'm going to go back here. First of all, I want to show that these are the dioxane plumes from Gelman's own maps, where they say these areas are above 500 parts per billion. Get some at the core, the so-called D2 that goes off to Evergreen.
I can't see the. I can't see your map, Roger.
Oh, maybe I didn't share it yet. Thank you. My bad.
Thank you.
I think I hit share. Did I hit share? I hit share screen, but I didn't do it. Try it again. How about now?
There it goes. Now
Is that better?
It's going.
Yeah, that was
It's
my
working
fault.
on it.
That was my fault.
There you go.
Anyway, let me go back here. Yeah, so these areas are the areas that are 500 parts per billion or higher, according to Gelman's own maps. Now, these are the maps as of a year ago. We just got the 2020 maps, which are similar, maybe smaller, a little bit bigger, but generally these same areas for 500 parts per billion. So now the company is saying, well, you know, in this area here, Rose Drive, we're going to put a well here. And in the Park Lake area, this yellow outline here, we're going to put a well here that's going to control this hotspot. That's going to take mass out of this hotspot, even though they're not pumping from the middle of the hotspot. Somehow they're going to draw the contamination away from that. And the criteria they're using for that and for their existing monitoring purge wells is that when it gets below 500 parts per billion, they're going to say, well, we've done as much as we want to do, and we're just going to stop purging at that point. 500 parts per billion seems to be their criteria for stopping purging. If it, you know, if they stop purging and they watch it for a period of time and it doesn't go back up above 500 parts per billion, then they're done. They're just going to let things go at 500 parts per billion, which is a lot of area. Even if they take this 2,000 parts per billion down to 500, that's a lot of area. So 500 parts per billion seems to be what they want to do, for purging. If it's above 500 parts per billion, yeah, we'll attack that, get it down to 500 parts per billion. But at this core hotspot, they're not proposing any purging in this 1,000 to 2,000 part per billion area here. There's no purge wells in this area, in this sausage-shaped area here. And in fact, if we go back down to where are they going to put the purge wells? They're proposing to put purge wells in phase 1, these 3 locations here, here, and here. That's interesting. Why would you put a purge well in an area that's outside of 500 parts per billion? These are outside the 500 part per billion boundaries of their plume maps. I thought they were going to quit purging when they got to 500 parts per billion. And here it seems to be saying, oh, we're going to purge here because it's important. Something doesn't jive in the logic. Even if we look at phase 2, here's one outside the 500 part per billion. Here's a couple inside. But again, they're not in the very hot spots. But let's go back to just that first phase. Why are they putting purge wells here? Well, here they actually have some sample locations. Here, this shallow one, is going to be a shallow purge? What about over here? Where are the wells around this area? Where's the data that shows that these are the right purge wells locations? Well, it might be this data. Let me go through these step at a time. Remember I was talking about the 2017 well permits? Well, here's the cluster. Here's another cluster. Here's another cluster. Here's another cluster. Here's another cluster. So maybe that's why, maybe there's something about these monitoring wells that were asked for by Gelman back in 2017 that show something needs to be purged here. And since they're using their 500 parts per billion, apparently as a criteria to quit purging, doesn't it seem like these sampling locations here must be above 500 parts per billion in order for them to put purge wells there? We know that's true here because we have some purge wells right next to it that are over 500 parts per billion. But up here, we don't have any monitoring right around this green spot. What did these secret wells, monitoring wells here, what did they show? Now, Dan just earlier today in this meeting said the negotiators have seen the data. So I know that it's supposedly under confidentiality rules, but would anybody in those negotiations tell us if these samples were above, say, I don't know, 2,000 parts per billion, 10,000 parts per billion? At what point does the confidentiality rule go away in order to keep the public informed about Gelman's dioxane in our waters of the state? Dan Hamill, can you say if any of these monitoring that were done from these 2017 well permit areas, can you tell if any of these are above 500 parts per billion? Because that's the way it looks from what they're proposing on their purge wells.
Roger, I can't comment. I like I said,
So if it was, I don't know, if it was maybe 10,000 parts per billion, should somebody speak up?
But let me ask Dan Hamill a question, please, Roger.
Sure.
Dan, these wells, were not the wells required by DEQ EGLE to be installed? Did not they have a permit, please?
I'm not seeing your question, Dan. What?
Lean in a little closer, Dan. I can't, Dan Hamill.
What I'm,
Go ahead, Dan
The
Hamill.
wells aren't installed. These are proposed to be installed. So the well locations that Roger is showing as the phase 1 and phase 2 on, site and vicinity wells for, in the current CJ are listed under the Gelman site, the response activities. Those are proposed to be installed. The permit, nothing has been pulled as far as permit. They will be pulled if the CJ is agreed to, and we move on to investigation and installation of extraction wells. So yeah, there's no permit yet for installation.
no, but you may not understand what I'm trying to say, please, please, Dan. What I'm saying is there are existing wells on the site, and there's existing well data that has been collected and provided to EGLE, yes?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of their sampling, current sampling. There are
Right. So does the public have all that information, Dan, please?
Yes, it would be in the database. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. So if
Thank you very much.
Available, and you go for a well, go to the database, type that in, and that if we have data for it, it's in there.
Thank you very much.
Dan Hamill, you were talking about these 3 wells, these green dots here, as being not put in place yet, and you're correct. There's been no well permits pulled for those, but there was well permits pulled for these sample locations back in 2017. All of these other locations here, these are new locations that we do not have data for. We do not have data for.
Right.
But apparently you've seen the data. You've seen the data for these.
Yeah. So has the negotiating teams for Gelman, for the interveners, for EGLE.
But Dan Hamill, this goes to the point that if this data has been provided to EGLE, that's public information and should be provided to everyone, please.
Well, I can't speak. I'm just going with what I have been told by our legal, by the AG, that currently, and what the judge, the restrictions that were put on, that everybody agreed to, negotiators for all the teams agreed to, of the confidentiality. And
but this data has been provided, please, through to EGLE, and it would have been provided irrespective of if there was a confidentiality agreement or not. It seems like EGLE may be using the confidentiality agreement to not provide data. Could you please kindly ask Brian Nagel, the AG, Assistant AG, if we could have the information which was provided to EGLE?
He has already been asked that, and he is already identified, even at the CARD meeting, the quarterly meeting, I believe, that he is pursuing that data to get, and like I said, to get the confidentiality lifted, and it has not occurred yet.
Yeah, but my point is, Dan, to him would be, is that because it's in the state, the confidentiality agreement is not really relevant. It's already been provided to the state. The state records are public, please. That would be my point.
I'll check with that with him, but like I said, I've been told that.
Thank you.
Can I ask?
Thank you very much.
Yes, yeah.
This is Ralph McKee. What do you think that the response would be of your lawyer if someone from the public showed up at the status conference and asked for the judge to release that information? Would you oppose it? or would you be okay with that?
Okay, let me make sure I understand your question. If someone showed up at the status and asked the judge,
Yes.
we would follow whatever the judge decided.
No. I'm asking you, would you oppose the request or would you say yes to it? Because the judge is going to be interested primarily in your position. In terms of making a decision, the judge is not going to make that decision in a vacuum.
Oh. Well, I mean, I can go with what has been said. You know, again, I'm speaking for, what I've been told. The AG, we've already identified that we don't have an objection to releasing that data by our request of Gelman to release. We want to release the data.
Okay.
We're getting questions.
I think you answered the question. That's what I wanted to know.
So
Thank you.
we've already said that we're trying to get the data. So along with that lines, we wouldn't have an objection.
No, going a step further, Dan. Would EGLE ask the judge to release that
Correct.
data?
That was my next question.
Well, I can't answer that. I mean, that would be the.
You said you would be in favor if a member of the public asked, but would EGLE go ahead and ask for that? And why wouldn't they? Why would you not ask for that?
That request back. I will take that request back.
Because you look back, Dan, do you know when the confidentiality agreement was signed?
It was early on in the negotiations. So
like what year? What year would that have been?
2017.
Yeah.
But when in 2017?
February or March.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, March off the top of my head.
Okay.
But
so what if these well permits were pulled after that and found, would the decision have been different on the confidentiality agreement if these well permits had been pulled and drilled and sampled earlier and found, let's say, I don't know, 1,000 or 2,000 parts per billion? Would the confidentiality agreement have been adjusted? Maybe had a criteria that says, well, if it's over 500, we're going to release the data. Or if it's over 10,000, we're going to release the data. Or if it's over 7.2, we're going to release the data. Did anybody in any of these negotiations, the lawyers or the people working with the lawyers, ever worry about having data of Gelman, Danaher's dioxin in our waters of the state being withheld from the public? Did anybody even consider that this situation would occur?
How am I going to?
Yeah, you probably don't know.
Confidentiality.
You probably don't know.
I don't know.
Somebody made that. Somebody missed that decision, or somebody made that decision, and it's still going on today. That there is data that we know exists that's only in the head of a handful of people who are parties to the negotiation, who are restricted by the confidentiality agreement, that are going to affect our groundwater, our water supply sometime in the future. And it's still being kept secret. And that includes this area over here where the burn pit, which had 1 million and 2 million parts per billion, about 2 million parts per billion in 88, and got down to about 1 million parts per billion in 1998. And there are actual permanent wells here that I have physical evidence of from my photographs, and even the aerial photographs, where you can see these wells from the aerial photograph. And yet these wells, according to the data, do not exist. Neither does the well log data or the sampling from those, but yet they're there. We have no idea how high these concentrations are. These might be very high. These could be like 500,000 parts per billion.
Roger, I've got a question for you. In the closed session, one of the items that's identified for discussion is whether there will be public comment at the status conference with Judge Connors. There's a number of people asking questions here. I don't know if they're going to be in the closed session. And I just wonder, is that a matter that we can discuss briefly in open session?
I would accept that. Anybody else going to comment on that?
Okay, then just let me report that I have left voice messages for and have had email communications with Judge Connor's judicial assistant and scheduler. And the question I pose is one, for those of you who don't know me, I'm a lawyer, although I haven't practiced since like 2005 or so. I keep my license up and I know Judge Connors very well. I asked the question, will the judge be taking public comment at the status conference? And the answer, because that would be highly unusual. And the answer I got back was she was not aware of anything to that effect. It was just listed for a status conference. And a status conference, the judge basically just wants to hear from the lawyers, where the hell are you and what are we doing next? You know, I mean, that's basically it. So I don't think anybody should be preparing public comment. I'd be very, very surprised if there were anything even like that. If he wants public comment, he'll schedule something for public comment.
Well, that's why I asked if EGLE would ask that this data be released.
Yeah, no, I understand. That's a different question entirely. There was the one question about what would you do if a member of the public said something in public comment at the status conference. And I just want to make it clear that's not going to happen.
Mike, this is Ralph McKee. I'm a non-practicing lawyer too. I wasn't suggesting that would happen at this particular conference. But certainly at some point, the judge has indicated that there would be public comment. And certainly, I guess my follow question would be, some question like this could conceivably come up at the status conference amongst the lawyers, i.e., when does this confidentiality order end because the public is clamoring for information? It seems to me that the lawyers could easily present that, in my view, should be presenting that immediately. But, you know, I would agree with you that that's likely to be beyond the pale of what the judge is going to entertain in the usual 30 minutes or something for a status.
Exactly. I agree with you. I would encourage that. And as I said, I know Judge Connors very well. And if any judge were to take any public comment, even in a case like this, he's one who might, where most would just flat out say no, which is why I sent the message to the judicial assistant. We're all confused here. What's going on? Are you going to take public comment?
I thought the word was he was going to take public comment at some point.
At some point.
Well, the judicial assistant is not aware of it.
Okay, well, that was out in the ether that he was going to.
Well, I said that in my email message. I said, I have heard from another public official that the judge was going to take public comment. If that's so, I am interested in doing so. Will you tell me, is there going to be public comment?
Can I ask Mike? Or
they haven't told her yet.
Or is anyone going to go, like any of our elected representatives, or could you go, Mike? I mean, can anyone just listen in on it? Just to see?
Can. As I said, it's been a long time since I've been a practicing trial lawyer here. In the good old days, so to speak, many status conferences were just held in the judges' chambers, because as I said, it's a matter of just determining. It doesn't mean they didn't keep a record, but it does mean that there was not even an open session. I think most judges now do it in open session, but I can't even say now. I think there's most I couldn't say, but at any rate, I'm not sure what his practice is these days.
Well, I'd like to go. I went to the last one, and it was interesting.
Jeff, did he do it on the record in court?
Yes.
Okay.
I would like you to go. I wonder.
Yeah, there was a recorder and clerk recorder and so on.
I feel that the people are not being represented by the council that was hired.
Dan Hamill, these are Gelman's maps. And they haven't changed that much in the last few years, in spite of this data that apparently has been available for at least 2 years. Because it's not part of the confidentiality agreement, these maps are wrong. Have you pointed that out to Gelman? Knowing what you know about these, the readings on these,
Question been asked of Gelman? I don't know.
have you noticed that these maps are wrong? They don't show where the 500 parts per billion is.
You're talking about the ISO concentrations for the
these
water,
ISO concentration lines.
You know, the different ones. As I remember, the interpretation of that, you know, the ISO concentrations in those areas are smaller versions than the big overall picture. And you can interpret that the 500 is in there. It's just not identified specifically, you know, with a number and a dash line per se. So yeah, they have some limitations under the current maps that we get, like the first quarter and the third quarter maps that we just.
I mean, to tell them that their maps are wrong, you would have to admit that the samples from these locations are above 500 parts per billion.
You know, they're required statutorily to maintain these maps, and
these maps, if these are above 500 parts per billion, they've been selectively ignoring the data from these areas so they wouldn't have to show where the plume is at 500 parts per billion. And we are guessing, we're supposing logically that they are above 500 parts per billion because they're proposing to put purge wells in there. And if it's below 500 parts per billion, they can not use the purge wells. So it doesn't make any sense.
They won't need it.
I mean, why would they put the purge wells there if it's not already 500 parts per billion? I mean, this is crazy stuff.
I think you just answered the question, Roger.
Yeah, I think so. And you know, this is not reality. This is not reality.
Are they supposed to maintain these maps in an accurate fashion?
It's
Well,
under the current.
They've done a pretty good job over the years, but now I'm not so sure.
Roger, we're kind of running low on time.
Good, thanks you, Dan. That's about all I have for that. Let's go back to the agenda, because I think we have to go into closed session now, which means we have to kick a bunch of you off who are Dan Bicknell. What's your suggestion here? With
whatever you like is fine with me.
I think it's
whoever you don't want to be in closed session, you can just put in the waiting room next to their name on participants.
Yeah, I think in closed session we want to just have a discussion among those who are directly affected by this as citizens or certain local government officials.
Yeah, I think it's pretty much the state that's the only party that might not be invited to the closed session.
And
Roger,
yeah,
I look across the board.
Everybody else has already been
Did you
introduced.
send a closed session link, Beth?
Say again.
I have about 20 minutes anyways. So before I sign off, does anybody else have any questions of me this evening? Before you go into closed session.
So Dan Hamill, I have a question. So is Gelman supposed to update these maps as they get data that they present to the public?
Well, yeah, it's part of the current CJ that they will provide maps related to current sampling, you know, the sampling that has gone on, the month before, the quarter before, that type of thing.
So are they in violation if those wells are not adequate or accurately represented on the map? Because they've been there for a while.
Right. What wells? There are no wells that have been installed, like I said, related to what is being proposed. You know, there was borings and data, but so they don't have like monitoring wells. Those are coming related when the CJ is signed, if and when the CJ is signed.
Okay. I thought there were additional wells they had permits for and may have installed.
No.
And proposed purging.
The only permits I'm understanding that Washtenaw County got was the soil boring.
Well, except for the
Okay.
the burn pit area, those seem to be permanent wells now.
Well, that should be updated on the map, whatever their data is that it shows.
Yeah, I
CJ
mean,
or not.
even the temporary borings, we had map locations for those. So it's, again, reality is lagging on this site. Anyway, do we need to have a discussion about going into closed session and why? Anybody have?
We have the board members approve it. I second the motion.
Okay.
Everyone in favor?
Yeah.
Aye.
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 Okay, Dan, we're going to come back after closed session, but you'll probably already be gone. All we're going to do on that is
I have to keep that.
you won't miss anything, but that will be part of the public recording once we go back on that. So at this point, we're going to go into closed session. James,
Okay.
did you want to introduce yourself? Is that what you had your hand up?
No, just for housekeeping measures, just that the telephone number is 734. The number ending in 8411 is my cell phone.
Oh,
so
thank you.
Just before I leave, I do want to point out, you were asking about the map, like the current quarterly progress reports from Gelman, the ISO concentration map. Yeah, in those areas that you're talking about, the southwest area, the Marshy area, the around Third Sister Lake, if you go into those maps, there are references of the 500 ppb ISO concentration line. So yes, I mean, they reference that there is concentrations potentially at 500 and potentially above 500. How detailed those are, I'm sure
You're an idiot, Roger.
No, actually, I looked at the latest ones, and they don't cover this area at 500.
Well,
the southwest area has some here, but not up in here. No. Anyway.
No. All right. I'm just, people are interested. That report, that third quarter report, the latest maps are posted. So I will leave and good luck with the rest of your meeting. And let me know if there's any other questions that you would like me to take the EGLE team here on the Gelman site.
Thank you, Dan.
All right. Have a good evening.
There's another point I noticed that I'm getting chat messages, but I don't have a separate window for that. So sometimes in chat, there's something that's important, and sometimes it's just a message that they have to leave. So almost need another person just to watch the chats and let me know if there's something important. All right, we're back in open session. Let me go back to share the agenda. And see, we already covered 7. Open discussion, any non-agenda items that people want to bring up? Other than it's time for dinner and we got to get going. Not hearing everyone, I make a motion that the meeting's over.
Seconded.
Favor? Aye. All right. Let's see everybody next month or in between, because we're probably going to have some new developments here in the next couple of weeks. Thank you. Thank everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thanks, Raj.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.